You will attend this meeting. You will have conversations with the team, the trainers, the testers, the change management, and the executive team. And we will go through everything to make sure that everyone is in alignment. And that's the key, was making sure that everyone is in alignment. And the CEO came and had a conversation with me about 15 minutes later. He goes, holy cow, nobody's talked to each other in months. Thank you. I said, this is what we do. This is why you hired us. We're going to make sure that this is back on track. And we will have this project back on track and close to their original timelines. But it's because now everyone is talking. True communication. And I love it when they do that.
Hello, and welcome to Speaking of Supply Chain, where we explore trends, current events, and innovations impacting the logistics and supply chain industries. I'm your host, Ellen Wood. Behind every chaotic disruption, delayed decision, or failed transformation in the supply chain, there's often a deeper issue no one talks about: strategic misalignment. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the hidden disconnects between functions, systems, and goals that quietly erode agility, exploring how supply chain leaders can reframe legacy thinking and technology to build truly adaptable, future-ready supply chains. Chris Carter, four-time best-selling author and one of America's top 10 industry influencers, is here with me today to unpack the silos, challenge the norms, and chart a smarter path forward. Chris, welcome to Speaking of Supply Chain.
Oh, thank you for having me, Ellen. It's a pleasure.
It's great to have you on the show. So before we get started with unpacking silos today, our icebreaker question is, what is a weird food that you have tried, and would you eat it again?
So this one was easy for me. Of the questions you gave me, I'm like, this is it, because I am a huge foodie when I travel the globe. There's the one I gave you, but I also thought about it a little bit, and I was like, oh my gosh. So the one I sent you was octopus. I love octopus no matter what form, where it is, and what it is. But when I really thought about it, I love the octopus, but I love street vendor food. Ooh. I will go to India, China, Brazil. I will eat my way through whatever city, through Rome. Instead of going to the Marriott Hotel or the Hilton or the Hyatt, I find myself street vendors. And it's funny, I watch as I'm driving into where I need to be from the airports, and I look and I see, and then I start asking the cabbie or the Uber. It's all about the great street vendor food.
That is absolutely true. I've never been disappointed by street vending food. I would have to say mine is very similar. I was in Barcelona, right on the coast, and we went to an amazing seafood restaurant, and I had the squid ink paella. And I remember sharing a photo of this with my followers, with my social media. And this was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And everyone was just amazed that I would eat this coal black looking, it looked absolutely charcoal. It was black, but it was so delicious. And it was so, so good. I was so glad I got a chance to try it.
I love Barcelona. It is such a great place to eat. Beautiful area. And especially if you're downtown where the soccer stadium is, or the complex, as I like to call it, that whole beautiful red brick wall. And there's actually a restaurant across the street and just down one block that has similar food. The seafood is to die for there. And that was just on their main thoroughfare.
Whenever I'm there, I always go to La Boqueria, and I just go and buy little bits and things, and I take it back to my hotel and just have girl dinner.
I love that. You just get little pieces plus coffees and espressos, and I do that all around the globe. I'll go to little coffee shops. I just walk, coffee shop, another espresso, coffee shop, another espresso. You can tell I have a lot of espresso.
That sounds like me going to the tapas bars and just having a little bite here and there. It's the best part of Barcelona, my absolute favorite. And I hope I get to go back sometime. But today we are talking about some of these disruptions and things that are going on in the supply chain and why we don't seem to be getting anywhere. Everyone's just pulling their hair out. It feels like the same problems over and over and over and over. And why are we hitting these on repeat? So what exactly do we mean by strategic misalignment in the context of whether it's production or distribution? where are we seeing this happening, and what is it really?
Oh gosh, it's everywhere. It's every type of industry. It's every type of industry focus, or it doesn't matter if you're in a warehouse distribution area. It doesn't matter if what the misalignment that is happening between what is going on at station A to station B to C. And it's interesting. I deal a lot with SAP and ERP customers, especially wrapping that around AI these days. And the misalignment, it happens from individuals who are black belts to individuals who are day 26 on a job. And it's interesting because it's as if we see things. If you're working in an environment and it's got a misalignment, but you're used to it and you see what you see every day, it just becomes happenstance. Oh, it'll fix itself out. Oh, we'll get that shipped out. Oh, we'll take care of this. Well, instead of taking care of it, they just let it go on, and they just let it, and then it becomes habit. And when things become habit, what's the old phrase? If you do things more than 3 times, all of a sudden it becomes a pattern. When it becomes a pattern and you start doing it for, 2 or 3 weeks, then all of a
21
sudden,
days.
21 days, and it all of a sudden starts becoming the norm. Well, it's the same thing with how everybody gets misaligned within these ecosystems. When you're starting to do that, and that's why when we come in, or I come in and others come in, and we're like, why would you do that way? And what are you doing? And why do you realize that you're wasting all this time and you're not aligned with this activity? Or what gets even worse, it's funny. I was just working with one of our clients, and I had to go to Singapore and I had to go to their KC. And this company, this individual organization did it differently than this one, Nothing was consistent. Everything was misaligned. So they wouldn't even get the same data. They had to transition their data to be able to make everybody understand it. And so it was pretty sad. And why is it happening? It's because, unfortunately, you get certain people that just don't care. And I've been in the supply chain and ERP for my entire career, since the 1980s. Yes, I'm that old. I know. I did pull out all my hair. And you look at these companies and you look at them, and as a younger person, I'm trying to be that person that's trying to help them. And then you've got mid-management and executives that are like, oh, no, it's working just fine for us. Okay, well, it could be working a lot better. Then all of a sudden I started getting into management and other activities, and I tried to make changes. And then you get the people down below like, no, we've got this. We take care of this. We'll do this. We know that it's time consuming and these activities, but it's fine. And then all of a sudden you get union shops, and then all of a sudden you get individuals, and it just goes across the board. And unfortunately, unless there's going to be a major change dynamic within that organization, the misalignment's going to continue to happen, unless they can really make that change or willing to make change.
You would think that post-COVID, after having lived through this, we would understand that it shouldn't take such a large-scale disruption in order to question the status quo. But I hear you saying that people are just adverse to change. They don't want to do something differently than the way they've got in their own minds. And, every single one of us knows that there are other great minds out there. There are other great ideas. There are other ways of doing things. And when agility is one of the buzzwords in our industry right now, why are people so reticent to admit that there could be a better way to do something?
So I'm going to answer that one, and I hope I do not offend anybody that's listening and watching. So I step back and I look at this from, again, an ERP software mechanism. In our ecosystem right now, we are the oldest consulting group, be it SAP, ERPs, and stuff like the oldest group on the consultative map. So when you look at us, there's over 60% of the individuals are 40 plus years of age. And when you look at 50 plus, it's an even worse scenario. And they're so grained in. We have problems with companies that we work with because there's an age activity. And I'm not going to say ageism is good, bad, or otherwise. But when you're trying to make the changes to more of an agile state, and you're trying to use cloud, and you're trying to move to the next level of an SAP or an Oracle cloud, we get a lot of times the feedback is, my staff just doesn't want to do that. We're going to have to make wholesale changes. We're going to have to move these people here. We're going to have to bring in people that do it. I had one woman, and I kid you not, Ellen, she's maybe 52, so she was younger than me, and she spouted off, I'm in my 50s. I'm not changing anything. You either have to fire me or I was like, ma'am, I'm not doing anything. This is your company. We just need to know how your process works. You're trying to get rid of me, and I refuse to make these.
Oh,
And what they did is they ended up buying her and about 50 other people out of their contract or their early retirement activities because they refused to learn the new concepts and learn the new activities with the new SAP system and the new cloud and the new agilities. And so they ended up going out and hiring these individuals. Cost them a lot to do it, but they just were not willing to make those initiatives to make a little bit of change and to help the company change to better itself. And so it really had to go through that process. So unfortunately, a little bit of age in there as well.
ugh. And, when those silos are so persistent, especially in modern organizations that want to have some of these changes, that want to keep up with the technology that is evolving, how does that attitude really undermine that resilience, that cross-functional resilience that we have to have? We've established, you have to have the different departments talking to each other, or else the whole thing falls apart. You can have the greatest idea in one section of the company, but if the other areas of the company are not aligned, it's not going to go through. So we know we need to have this type of cross-functional communication going on. And that's what makes these supply chains more resilient. But we're just absolutely not allowing ourselves to do it.
Unfortunately, companies are not allowing themselves to do it. You are correct. And I go back to maybe about 15, 20 years ago. Remember when we had all of the technology silos? You took care of operating systems. You took care of the databases. You took care of the application. Well, companies took that a little bit further and they said, well, my warehouse management team doesn't even talk to my distribution team properly. They feel that they're supposed to be doing this, and no, you're supposed to be doing that. And then it's the data come in, and I'm like, guys, why are you fighting each other? You're the same company. If you want to have your little fandom and you want to keep everything, great. But guess what? You work for the company, and the company needs you guys and gals to work together and to understand. And if it's got to come down from the top, it's going to come down from the top. It's interesting. I just got to sit for 3.5 hours on an airplane with the founder of a place called Quick Trip. And in Wisconsin, Indiana, Illinois, it's this great little gas station concept with chicken. And I was asking him, I was just peppering him questions. I had no idea who he was at first. And he was talking about his supply chain because he was doing X, Y, and Z. He brought it all in-house, and they're all on the same page. We're going to make our glazers, our donuts. We're going to do this with bananas. We're going to do this with our customers. We're going to do this with our partners. Everybody's in alignment, and they're all working towards one goal. And it's for the company's benefit to help the customer. And unfortunately, people look at their little area of their world. This is my warehouse management. This is my application. I've modified this. I'm going to make sure that nobody touches this, including those darn people in distribution or those people in finance that are trying to tell me I need to give back percent credits and I need to do this. And lo and behold, IT gets involved with them from a supply chain and tries to help them. Hey, we're going to have to charge you on that. Okay. But you do see ebbs and flows with that. And I see ebbs and flows with companies in that all the time. All of a sudden somebody will leave and you'll get somebody else and be like, can we make changes? Are we allowed to help? And they may go off and they may be brave. They may have that big sword and they're going to start chopping and they're going to start doing. You wish you didn't have to do that, but unfortunately, sometimes you have to, especially when you're working in a supply chain activities and you need to manage people, processes, and activities to go forward.
Yeah, I can't imagine that the people are that opposed to change just on the like in general. It must be there's got to be some fear behind this. There's got to be some concern about the job market, about, AI taking over people's jobs. I mean, all of these things are causing people a lot of fear. But the bottom line is a rising tide raises all ships. So, that effort that they put into it, if each little person puts in each of their effort, the company's going to do better overall. And, I hope that companies are recognizing that there is that level of actual fear for their own livelihoods that is keeping people from, really jumping into some of these larger scale changes or being open to just a completely different viewpoint. And I think that's one of the great things that you and I have from the consultancy angle is, we're not the ones ingrained in these habits, in these, ways of working that are just so siloed and with blinders on that we're able to look at it and see, oh, well, you could do it this way or you could do it that way. And we have no stake in the game. It's not going to affect us one way or the other. And if they continue to do poorly, it's still not going to affect us. We have the benefit of being able to look at it from an outside view and just give advice.
Yes. But I say yes to that. But yet when I leave an organization and I know they're not going to make the change, or they've got individuals within their organization that I know are going to disrupt where they want to go and how they want to do it, I walk away very sad because I look at that and just think, God, you could be so much, you could grow, you could do, but you're just not willing to take that individual and say, look, you've been here 30 years. We get it. We're proud of you, but we're going to put you over here. You're getting close to retirement or whatever the activities are, and help and benefit the organization. And unfortunately, I walk away sometimes just shaking my head thinking, God, that company's never going to get to the point where the ownership group or whoever wants to, because of they're being disrupted on the bottom or in the middle.
Yeah, because of that opportunity cost that's lost.
Yes.
So when it is further down the chain, when it is, the everyday people in the everyday positions, that's one thing. We have naysayers all the time. There's never going to please everybody all of the time. But when it's at the higher circles, when it's at those upper levels of management, how much of that, inefficiency can be tracked back to a misalignment. When we're talking about some of these larger scale disruptions, some of these larger scale problems, are these habits, are these mental models? Is it risk aversion? But is it at the top where these larger strategic decisions are being made, or is it more operational?
Well, actually, I'm going to give an example of what is perfect with this question. About 2 weeks ago, I was with an organization that we've been supporting for years, and they just let go of their chief operating officer. Their chief operating officer was trying to undermine a project and undermining the CEO because he felt that he did not understand the technology and did not understand the business as the CEO and the son of the founder. And the COO kept saying, we don't need these activities. We don't need this. We don't need that. And the CEO wanted to be intimately involved with the project and was. And he kept getting these notifications that this was being changed and this was being changed and we're not going to do this. Finally, they all had a C-level come to Jesus meeting. I've only heard and been a part of a few of these. And what is interesting is they literally sat down in a room and they all had a, pardon my language, an itch session. Now put the B in front of that.
Yeah.
You know what it was. Mm-hmm. And we're in consulting. We get these all the time from usually end users and usually from individuals that are part of the project teams. But this was a C-level itch session. And apparently this thing went on for about 4 hours to finally were the point where the COO said that they were resigning and the CEO said, nope, you have been terminated. And they literally walked them out of the building. Undermining a project hurts everybody. And by undermining a project to just make a change that you feel is more comfortable for you or your organization, if it's coming from the C level or from the CEO himself or herself, you make those changes and you bring it all together. Now, it may not be the right idea. And so you explore that conversation, you discuss and you digest what is going to happen if we make this decision. If we say we're going to implement enterprise warehouse management and how this is going to affect the warehouse management, the distribution, the supply chain, everything across, and you lay that out in front of everyone and you make the right decision. Or if you're going to make a wrong decision, okay, at least you've made a decision. But now let's understand why it's positive and why it's negative, and then make that forward momentum. But never undermine somebody. Don't sit there thinking that you, from a C level, from a mid management, to somebody who's doing the testing, to somebody who's doing the implementation, don't undermine a project for your own benefit or for your activity. It's for the betterment of the company and everyone involved. And it grates on me when people do things for their own direction or their own activity and forgets that it's for the greater good.
Well, and I hear you saying a lot of this boiled down ultimately to a lack of communication. And I've seen a number of large scale implementations for many different reasons within these types of companies or within these types of projects. And they're not quick. These things take time. Sometimes we move a little quicker than others, but when it comes to these big strategic moves, there's time given to, do some data research. There's time given to understand the implications, or at least we hope sufficient time is given. But this isn't just a snap decision. This is something where a number of people should have been brought to the table. And perhaps I'm hearing you say that they just weren't brought in at the right time until it was too late and opinions had been formed, heads were butting, and now there is no good resolution to the problem.
And it happens all the time, unfortunately. We're actually helping to clean up a organization's mess right now. They didn't bring in any of the stakeholders up front. And that's a big piece of it. Bring everyone in before you even start to buy your licenses or to make a change, or you need everyone's opinion. Now, not everyone is going to be in alignment, and I get that. We've always said, you're probably going to have someone that's going to dissent, and that's great. But they're going to have an idea, a thought, a concept, a process that they're going to bring in to say why this can't work. And as long as you keep that line of communication open, our best projects have always been when everybody's allowed to voice their opinion and have that conversation at the table. Doesn't matter if it's good, bad, otherwise, or just whipping a hat off and throwing it on the table and saying, no. Communication. It's like being in a marriage. If you don't communicate with each other, you're not going to be a very happy marriage. If you're not communicating as part of a project team for any supply chain project, for any ERP, for any type of a project, you're not going to have good relationships with anybody. And so that's why communication is vital. When we came into this project that I was just referencing, they were not doing weekly calls or weekly meetings to give updates. They were not doing weekly calls for change management activities. They were not doing weekly calls for even strategy sessions of anything that would change. Anybody that needed to make a change in the system, they just said, oh, okay, send it over to the basis team or this technology team, this group. Nobody was talking amongst themselves. So we implemented our strategy, which is we are going to have a change management meeting every Monday as soon as we get back from the weekend, because we had to make a lot of changes on the weekends. 2, you've got an executive meeting. 3, you've got a full team meeting. 5, you are going to have a technical meeting. We literally lined up about 15 different meetings all week long. So it's about 3 every day. And people were like, well, what am I going to do on my calendar? But I said, I don't care. You will attend this meeting. You will have conversations with the team, the trainers, the testers, the change management, and the executive team. And we will go through everything to make sure that everyone is in alignment. And that's the key, was making sure that everyone is in alignment. And the CEO came and had a conversation with me about 15 minutes later. He goes, holy cow, nobody's talked to each other in months. Thank you. I said, this is what we do. This is why you hired us. We're going to make sure that this is back on track. And we will have this project back on track and close to their original timelines. But it's because now everyone is talking. True communication. And I love it when they do that.
Well, it does make everything a lot easier when they actually talk to each other. I know, there have been days when I get so wrapped up in the work that I'm doing that I forget to tell other people what's going on, and it does cause an issue. You have to talk to upstream and downstream of what's happening and what's going on, even if it's just an update. So one thing you were mentioning, that once they started talking to each other and having the meetings, it was night and day. They were able to communicate. They were able to get things at least moving in a forward direction. This is the aha moment for a lot of companies, to realize that their communication was not as good as they thought it was. Mm-hmm. So even when companies think they're in a good place, what kinds of things, aside from the communication piece where they're maybe not as good as they think they are, but, have there been situations where they thought they were ready for something and they were trying to communicate, but then the technology piece was just so far behind that it really is an actual roadblock? In most cases, I don't think technology is the roadblock that people think it is.
It depends on the age of the infrastructure and on the applications that they're using. We've had customers in the past where they thought, oh, we're good to go. We can do, and I'm looking at their system going, wait a second. You are in violation of the operating system patch level. You are in violation of your database patch level. You don't even have an update on your SAP environment or your Oracle or what. Your technology cannot go to, perfect example is SAP's got a thing called ECC. ECC 6. Right now we're on S4, which is all going to a cloud. And the ECC was the on-premise or bare metal or virtualized environment. Come in there and we start talking. Oh, we're ready to go to S4. We're excited. We want to do this. And so our team did an evaluation of the environment and said, well, wait a second here. You're on ECC 6 Enhancement Pack 1. You have to be on Enhancement Pack 8. Oh, wait a second. You're on MaxDB. You cannot go to MaxDB unless you go to HANA first. And then you got to go up. So you need to pump the brakes. Your technology is nowhere near ready. Let's put together a project plan. Let's talk through these scenarios. Oh my gosh. The CTO thought that we had stepped on his Cheerios or something. They were so upset. Well, what do you mean we can't do this, and this? I said, sir, I'm sorry. This is here. Here's the documentation. We did an early watch report on your system, and it's not going to work. Now, mind you, there are companies that I've dealt with, and I kid you not, they are on legacy environments of either Oracle or SAP or whatever it is that you couldn't even do an upgrade with. You have to beg and plead with God, please do not turn off that system. Don't have a power outage. Don't have a backup. Because if they were to log back in and that system kicked on, they would probably have 5,000 Microsoft hot packs go into that system and it would kill the environment. And some of these folks just go, oh, it's fine. We live with this every day. We can work with them. Like, pretty soon you're not going to be working on anything anymore because it's going to be so bad.
Yeah, they're working with the hope and pray method of, is this going to continue to work tomorrow? They've got some poor person sitting in a closet that their only job is to make sure that it stays on and doesn't, have a hiccup, and, keep the Band-Aids coming, the duct tape, the paper clip, whatever they have to do to MacGyver this system to keep it running, as opposed to just biting the bullet and saying, hey, we have to modernize. This technology is not going to support our goals anymore. This technology is not going to allow us to achieve the, whatever goals they have in plan, whatever plans they have, whatever sales, they're not going to be able to do it. And I don't always understand the mentality. I mean, I guess when it comes to business, there are big decisions that have to be made. And sometimes, you do have to cut some corners in order to make ends meet at the end of the day. But this is when we're talking about strategic change. This is not just, I need to change this light bulb. This is, we need to have something working differently in order to enable something bigger than what we're already doing. And I wonder how often companies even look at it in that light. If their leadership looks at it in that light of, this is not something we have to do because X is broken and Y will fix it. It's, if we don't do this, we can't get to Z at all.
Correct. It's a business transformation for most of these organizations, because they're going from something so old and archaic. Remember, we used to have the old green screens running all over my father's company. And then all of a sudden we started getting x86 laptops or desktops, and people were like, well, okay, what do we do? Well, now we're transforming the business. It's amazing when they went from the old to the new, and to be able to interact with each other and to talk to the front of the warehouse, to the back of the warehouse, and the distribution. Well, that's kind of the transformation activities that we're doing now. We're doing from the bare metal or in a virtualized world, and we're now going to cloud-based worlds with AI and activities wrapped around it. And that business transformation is key, and to be able to move them into the next level of their business. Now, is it going to happen overnight? No. And nobody should ever expect that. But at the end of the day, you got to start making those baby steps. I call it stair stepping. You need to take the first step. Then you need to take that second step. Now, you might have a little delay in there because maybe your financials didn't work out that year, or maybe you've got somebody that left the organization, or maybe you guys haven't come together as an organization to be able to go that way. But keep climbing. Keep climbing. That's all you need to do, is keep climbing. Or as Dory used to say, just keep swimming.
Just keep
swimming. Yes, I'm a two-time girl dad, so I know those songs by heart up here.
So for some of those supply chain executives that are in our audience, what signs should they be looking for to indicate that there is that deeper misalignment and overcome it?
So how to find it, first of all, if you're working in an environment and your eyes are wide open and you're able to see what's going on a daily basis, if you're involved and you're having those dilemmas and those problems and those activities, and you truly are invested and engaged with those activities, that's the things that you need to understand, to step back, document, communicate, and talk through a plan, a process, an activity wrapped around that specific understanding that you see where there's an issue. As long as, and I find this to be quite soothing, when executives go to other executives and they've got that fully documented out. This is the pain. This is what we're doing, what we could be doing about it, how we can fix this, even to the point where maybe they've got a cost structure with a timeline, cost of the upgrade, cost of an implementation, retraining of staff members is part of that organization, first, second, third shifts. And to be able to present that in an executive manner to the board or to the exec, and then also being able to go down the funnel. Hey guys, I want to talk to you about something I've seen. You're the shipping manager, or you're the warehouse manager, or you're this and you're that, or you're the trucking and distribution side. I still remember to this day, I was doing a project for the folks over at Kohler Corporation in Kohler, Wisconsin, and had a great relationship with different individuals at different levels. And because it was actually one of my first jobs as a kid in high school, was working with Kohler, because I lived in that area of the country. And then as I started to see and watch and talk with people, went to college, went through my SAPs and blah, came back and asked me to do another project there. And it was great because a lot of those people were still there. And I watched one executive who was there. His name is Jim. And he would talk intelligently to the executives, and he would talk intelligently to the people that worked on his shifts and throughout, and he would get people's buy-ins and communications. And now he's a VP over at the organization before he gets to retire in a couple of years. Because we still keep in touch. But it's amazing if you communicate those ideas and thoughts up and down to your staffs and to your executives. There's so much that can happen because now you get people buying in. Oh, Jim, you're right. I noticed this, but I really didn't think about it. And what if we did this, this, and this? And now all of a sudden you've got somebody who's working the night shift or the day shift that is interacting with you, and you take some of that information up. And then all of a sudden, David Kohler comes walking in and says, "Hey, Jim, you were making reference to this guy. Who is this guy, and can I talk to him?" Well, okay. All of a sudden, David Kohler, the chairman and CEO of Kohler Corporation, is walking around the distribution center, and he's looking for Ellen, who made these comments and ideas. And they start to have a conversation. Well, holy cow, all of a sudden that's getting some traction, communication, and the idea to be able to make really strong change to an organization of even that size that could save them an hour's worth of work every day, or it could help a customer with the distribution activities that they've got. Those are the things that I think are, and this is going to sound tacky, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see the communication and the changes that happen just from those types of conversations.
I absolutely agree. And I've talked about this on another episode in another interview, but there was a book that was very popular around 20 years ago. It was called Gung Ho. And it was, talking about, motivation at work. And, one of the chapters was, people want to feel important. They want to feel that their work matters at the end of the day. And what you're speaking to is exactly that, making sure that everyone believes that the work that they're doing matters at the end of the day, to the company, to the bottom line, to the world at large, whatever. That it's not just going in and spending their 8 hours away from their home, away from what they'd rather be doing, just to earn a paycheck. If the work that they're doing has some meaning, then they're more apt to pay attention to it and to care and be there and aligned when there does need to be a change.
100% agree. People want to, even if it's just for one day out of a year, feel important and that their opinion and their work matters. If you make everyone in your organization know that they truly do matter to the bottom line and to the organization, even if once a year you're shaking a hand, kissing babies, telling them how great they are, and showing them that they truly, and it's funny. It's not even about the money. People don't care about the money once they get a handshake from a CEO or from somebody as part of the executive team. Thank you for what you're doing for the company. We appreciate you.
Even more so when it's something, specific, to say that idea you had was really great. I'm glad you brought it to our attention. That's a wonderful thing. And I think that kind of brings this to my next point, which is, when we think of leadership, we think of control. They're the ones who are in control of the business decisions. They're the ones who are in control of the direction that the company's going to go. They're in charge of, all these different strategic issues. But when they cede some of that, when they let that mask of control drop, and allow themselves to consider alternate approaches, alternate opinions, then it becomes an adaptability. And so that's shifting that mindset from controlling the outcome to building a system that can adapt to the changes that the system encounters.
Ellen, you are speaking directly to someone who actually just watched a movie a couple of months ago about the gentleman who created the Flaming Hot Cheeto. I don't know if you've seen this on Netflix. It's a kind of a documentary kind of thing. The CEO of Frito-Lay Corporation sent a letter to every employee. Act like the CEO of our company, and anything that you see, you do, you be a part of. Because he had walked through a part of the company and it was dirty and this. And so he sent out this letter. Well, this gentleman, he calls himself, somebody keeps calling him a janitor, but he calls himself sanitation control. He had built slurry It's called slurry. It's the flavoring they put on these different Fritos and Doritos and all that kind of stuff. Well, he had built that or created that, spread it on Fritos, and people just loved it back in his Latino communities and other areas. So he sent a letter to the chairman and CEO of Frito-Lay Corporation, didn't get in. So he calls the office. And because of that CEO empowering the individuals within his company, we now have Flaming Hot Cheetos and Flaming Hot. And now he is an advisor directly to the CEO about product and about how to move the flaming slurry. And he became a character, well, a real life character that now is got a movie and other stuff. And it's when you empower your people to be able to make the changes within your organization and offer that insight and advice, that's when the magic happens. Because we work in a supply chain industry and an ecosystem of ERPs and activities. If we empower and that organization empowers, we're letting them open up their eyes and open up their ears to other activities that are happening around those projects and activities. And now they're willing to speak freely about that. That's where the magic is happening. And that's where we get our Flaming Hot Fritos or Cheetos or, yeah, Flaming Hot Cheetos, I believe they're called.
I mean, that's informational gold to an organization to have employees who are looking at the work that they do and the work that the company does or the product that the company creates and looking at it with that critical eye and saying, how could this be better? How could this be done differently? How could this be more efficient? Because one person can't be expected to come up with every single possible answer to every question or problem. And these are the people who are doing the work a lot of the time. So surely they have some insight. But when we're asking executives to do this, it is a bit of a step outside their comfort zone because they got to the positions they are in because they are very good at, control. They're very good at that strategic mindset. So what can they do to model some of that cultural change to drive that aside from just listening to employees? I mean, we've had that. We've got our Frito-Lay, back to your Disney movie, Ratatouille of Anyone Can Cook.
Love Ratatouille.
So when we're looking to make some of these larger strategic changes, we're looking at these legacy systems, these ERP systems, these things that we know have to change in order to keep up with, not only to keep up with the competition, but to enable strategic realignment toward new goals in the time that we're in, because, business is cutthroat out there. So in some of these legacy heavy environments where we're looking at, older systems, older ways of doing things, how can we drive that cultural change from the executive level?
Yeah, it really starts from the top. And I'll give you a personal example. I was very fortunate. I got to work for the Atlantic Committee for the Olympic Games, ACOG, and the chairman and CEO was Billy Payne. Billy Payne is an incredible executive in the Georgia market, run multiple companies. He's used to be the chairman of Augusta National at one point in time. He's now retired from there. Just an incredible man. And everything started with him. And so from the communication came straight down from him. He wanted individuals all the way down to those people that were going to be at the locations for the Olympics in Atlanta to be involved with activities, help each other. It's got to start from the top. And so as part of that, you need to make sure as an executive, you are laying the foundation and the groundwork for the activities that are going to happen within either your company as a founder, your company as a CEO, and then you have to make sure that those individuals, one level underneath you, take that baton and you must run with it. And if they're not, bring them back together and understand this is my directive. I want this done. These individuals, like I have 173 staff members around the world. It comes down from me. It comes down from my, how can I say this nicely? I am the leader of this company, and I want everybody underneath me to lead as if they're me. I want them to talk with your customers. I want you to talk with your partners. I want you to communicate with each other. I'm constantly on Teams and Zooms and those things because I want those individuals to know that they can have a direct conversation with me. I will talk with anybody and everybody on my team at any time of the day. Mind you, it gets a little hard when they're in India or they're in Brazil. I'm on the West Coast at one time, but it's got to start from that person up on top. I don't care who they are. Lead and ask them to be there holding hands with me to lead the organization, to get the numbers. And then as part of the project team, I give them the authority to make decisions on the project teams. My project managers, they know how these projects need to run. And I fully expect them, if there's somebody that is slacking on their team, they have the authority to bring in a manager along with them and that individual to have a conversation. Why is your work falling behind? What can we do to help you? Do you need somebody to assist you in these activities? Have you not done this type of activity before that we need to either train you on those activities because you told us either you could handle it or couldn't? And we have to make those decisions very quickly, very rapidly, make the decisions to make the betterment of projects, of the infrastructure, of the applications, of the partners, make those decisions quickly and move it forward so we can be successful together as a client, as a company, and make those decisions happen.
I'm reminded of, and I've seen it around the internet a number of times over the years. And it's if you give each letter of the alphabet a numeric value from A to Z, and you spell out the words, knowledge or education or all of these other words, and they're very important. They add up to a lot, but the one that adds up to 100% is attitude. And that's what I hear coming from you, that it takes that mindset of being open to other people's opinions, but also being open to possibly hearing something, negative or hearing something critical in order to, again, use that, the rising tide lifts all ships. So as long as we're all on the same team, trying for the same thing, there has to be that level of openness.
Absolutely agree. I will take every piece of criticism that anybody on my team gives me. I've got a CIO who loves to criticize me because I'm always trying new things with marketing and promotions and activities. So I feel that everybody in the organization should have that. And if you're on a project team, everybody needs to know that it's not about hurting you or hurting your feelings. It's about the project and it's about getting the best results for the best activities to be able to move forward. So take the critical is actually the better one. I don't want everybody kissing my backside, patting me on the back. Oh, Chris, you're a genius. Oh, write another book about that. Oh, you 4 times 17, blah, 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 blah. No. Hit me in the arm and say, look, you ding dong. Why are you doing that? Why are you saying that? I'm like, well, I'm saying that because I did this, and this. I validated this. What are you doing as part of the project? And this, and this. Make sure that you're critical, but make sure you're honest in your criticality. Don't just be critical because you're a critical person. Be critical because there's really some criticism behind it that needs to be adjusted and fixed.
All right. It's clear that strategic misalignment isn't just a planning issue. It's a silent force that can compromise your entire supply chain if left unchecked. But with the right mindset, cross-functional clarity, and a willingness to challenge legacy systems, leaders can turn complexity into a competitive edge.
Yes, they can.
Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us today and sharing your perspectives.
Oh, thank you, Ellen. I appreciate it. And I look forward to having conversations with anybody anytime they just want to chit chat. And if they think that my opinion is inferior or wrong, I'm willing to talk about it.
To our listeners, if you found today's episode valuable, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another. And if you're interested in being a guest on our show, you can reach me at podcast@mebach.com at any time. Thanks for joining us. And remember, true adaptability starts with alignment.